Okay. All right, so I think we can open the meeting.
Yep. Do you want to put a motion in, Amy?
I make a motion to start the June 23rd meeting of the Board of Health.
I second that motion. Meeting is starting June 23rd, 4:31 p.m. So I just want to go over a few things. Just welcoming everyone to the Board of Health meeting for today, June 23rd. In accordance with Mass General Law, we're required to let you know that we are recording this meeting. Anyone else should not be recording this meeting without permission from the board. Moving on, we will go to first public comments, which is a short portion of our meeting. During public comment, anyone will have 3 to 5 minutes to speak about any issue they are concerned about. We will not be responding to public comment, but listening to your input for future discussion at board meetings. Do we have any? I don't think we have any public comment today. So we can move on to the first item on the agenda.
Yep. So, Kevin, do you have video by chance? You don't have to put it on. It's just easier, so we can.
It's on my phone. I don't even really know how to do it. I'm kind of working too, so I'm just. I don't. Is there like a?
I just asked you to start your video. It might pop up on your phone. Otherwise, like. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so. Basically, we wanted to bring Kevin in front of the board because we've just had some ongoing inspectional issues, and usually, I'm sorry, my camera's like crooked. Usually personally, when I get to a point where I feel like my inspections aren't kind of going anywhere, or we're kind of like spinning our wheels, my next kind of step is to go to the board. And then typically we'll put in some certain parameters, but just as a kind of overall, I mean, we can get into the specifics if we have to, but I sent you guys the inspection reports for the past couple of years. But what we've seen is just a lot of pest issues. I know that we kind of had an agreement this year that if the pest issues continue in the dry storage area, then we'd have to reevaluate the dry storage altogether, because right now it's in like a shed, which isn't really like an approved food storage area. But we've consistently seen pest control issues really since I've been here. And at our last pre-op inspection to open Captain Jack's for the year, we had required pest control monthly moving forward. Brian did an inspection in a couple weeks ago, because now that we have just kind of more capacity to be doing the types of inspections that we're supposed to be, we were trying to get back out in the community. There was no pest control documents, and Kevin, I know you'll speak to this, but there was no evidence of pest control. And Kevin said that he had kind of like a off-the-record agreement with Minuteman Pest Control, but we really need to have legitimate pest control documents. And even if there was an agreement, I don't think either, I mean, for your sake, if you were paying it, it wasn't doing anything, which typically a professional pest control company can remediate issues, because Brian saw rodent droppings again. Yeah. We've seen them in dry storage before, but there have been inspections before where I saw rodent droppings up on a knife holder, which is posted up on the wall, so 4.5 feet in the air. So, and that was in the kitchen right next to the cook line. And overall, we've just had some sanitary issues. We had a suspected foodborne illness last year that our previous inspector investigated. So I'm just feeling that, our inspections are ongoing. They've been pretty poor. So Kevin, I don't know if you want to speak, and then I'll let the board know kind of what I'm thinking moving forward, and we'll kind of go from there.
No, go ahead. Well, I will say about I mean, he looked in the shed, there was nothing, not one drop. We've had live traps for 3.5 months, not one. I mean, you got to realize, like, as the pest inspector said today, if you look hard enough, you're going to find something. He's like, every restaurant in Northampton has mice. And then he said, he suggested every other month just because he didn't see anything. Now, you also have to realize we're cutting 500 pounds of potatoes a day. We're cutting 400 pounds of onions a day. These are stored outside in barns and everything. So, I mean, stuff gets on boxes, stuff gets in brooms. We've had zero live activity forever. I mean, obviously, our situation too, in the middle of a huge construction site with water, flooding issues all over this damn place that nobody's taking care of. But, we're doing the best we can here. So, and you've also seen the place too, like, any kind of rain or whatever, it gets tracks on your feet. We have the crushed stone, I mean, he literally was lying on the floor with a flashlight, moving a box that may have been out in the shed or at some point, but there was nothing in the shed at all. There's nothing. And for a shed out in this field,
But Brian, you've observed rodent droppings this last inspection?
I think he might be. Kevin, are you referring to the pest control, or are you referring to me?
The pest control did not find anything.
Okay.
But Brian, you cleaned it, right? Because Brian had you clean it?
Yeah, we keep it pretty clean. I mean, he found it in a far corner under a box. I mean, sure. I mean, it was there. What do you want to, it happens, but it wasn't like an infestation by any means. It was under an old box that had tools because we were changing the valve and fry later, which sounds like another excuse. So I'm not really going to say anything about it. I mean, it happened.
Okay. I'm just looking at Brian's report. It just says
sure.
Droppings observed throughout kitchen, on floors, by appliances, in corners of unit, along walls.
Right, in that far corner.
So for the board, my recommendation moving forward, and it's, you guys have the final say, is I think we need to go to monthly inspections. I would ask that pest control be paid for a year up front, so we don't have to worry about the pest control not taking place. And I would ask for evidence of that within a week. And then because the monthly inspections takes us away from our normal job duties and all the other restaurants that we don't really get to, I would ask that the monthly inspections be paid $50 a month. So those are my initial thoughts.
So, Kevin, I've been a health inspector and health director and corporate food inspector for 10 years at least.
Sure.
There is not mice in every food establishment. I don't know what pest control operator told you that, but it is a critical violation of the federal food code.
Sure.
And it shouldn't be happening, at least consistently. I think Bree's plan is reasonable.
Sure.
I'm surprised it took us this long to get to a plan like this. Bree, how long were you thinking monthly inspections would occur for?
Well, Kevin is fairly seasonal, or he has been in the past. So if he's going to go, I guess there's two options. If it's seasonal, if he's going to end like in November, like you have in the past, I would say for the rest of the year. If you're not going to be seasonal, if you're going to remain an annual operation, I would say until we find a point where we feel comfortable. I don't think I'm able to put like a timeline on it right now.
So here's my suggestion. I mean, I think that's a little excessive, and I'm sorry for the kids in the background. I think we should do a month of 3 months of inspections. If we see no continued critical violations, of what the food code identifies as critical violations, then I think we can stop, right? Clearly, the goal is to get compliance, so there's no need to do this indefinitely. Once we get on a system where we feel like the food coming out of that establishment is safe, meets the food code. If we continue to see critical violations, that 3 months will just keep moving forward.
Okay.
I agree with the monthly service paid for up front with the record sent directly to the health department. I think given that pest control has been an issue over multiple reports, that ensuring that is no longer happening and having those brought right to you makes the most sense. That way, I'm sure when you go there, they're always packed. So it's hard to pull records out while in the middle of an inspection while you're also trying to maintain business. So if they come right to you, I think also the cleaning logs coming to you also makes sense. Kevin, I mean, you can decide what works best for your business, but if you're able to send them, it's not right in the middle of a rush that we didn't, we try not to come right in the middle of a rush, but we don't always anticipate when each business is going to be busy. But if you're getting them and then you can compare what he says he's doing in his cleaning reports when you're there and say, yeah, okay, he's saying he's doing this surface every night. And I don't know the establishment, Kevin, I'm sorry, but this refrigerator or this shed, whatever you decide the frequency should be, you'll be able to know if he is or isn't doing it.
So do you want the cleaning logs, or is that an option?
No, I think they should send them to you.
So cleaning logs and pest control to the health department. Okay, and then the cleaning logs. Okay, so every month. And do you want pest control paid up front for a year, or do you want to just, if we don't get it for a month, then reach out to the pest control company? It's hard sometimes for us to track because we've got a couple monthly things that Jackie has to track, like ice cream testing. We have a couple pools that get monthly tests, so it's up to you guys.
So
I mean, clearly, this is a major issue. I mean, it's really, we're seeing this is a major issue happening. So I think let's go ahead and do the month paid up front within the next week.
The year.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
year. And I would also like to add, like, if you're going to close down for the winter, Kevin, we need to probably have you inspected when you reopen next spring.
Yeah, they always do that anyway because of the trailers.
So then that report needs to be sent to the health department by the pest control company also, I would add.
Yeah, I know we actually have a couple outstanding violations that are fairly large that we allowed Kevin to open without fixing for this season, but we have it very specific in an email documented that he can't open in 2022 until they're fixed. I think the floor needs replacing. And a couple other major kind of big things. I think he was planning on doing kind of like a kitchen overhaul. So instead of doing Band-Aids, we said, okay, fine, 2022, all this has to be done.
We've been on a month-to-month lease because of this huge, I mean, we still actually don't know if we're going to be allowed to use this as a restaurant. I mean, what are we in July? We still don't know in November if we have a restaurant here. That's the issue.
Didn't they do a lot of work to make it so your building is?
No, I just got a notice from their lawyer Monday that they want to rescind our lease. This is the issue. I mean, that's why the floor wasn't fixed and everything, because we've had a month-to-month lease for 3 years. But obviously I spoke to Hampton Flooring and everything, and once that's cleared, we're going through. But I mean, this whole co-op project's been a disaster for us.
Well,
that's why, like, the outstanding stuff is because, I mean, no offense, but who would drop $7,000 for a floor, in which you've been very kind to let it wait until 2022. That's the reason. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but
we just don't even know.
That's why
just to clarify, the outstanding violations are on the standalone facility, not the trailer.
Yes.
Right.
So nothing that is even being used right now.
No, it's used.
No, we use it as prep.
He has to use that as his base because his trailer needs a base.
Right.
And is that where we're seeing the rodent problem?
The base is where the construction is.
We had some cleanliness issues with the trailer too. We try to take into consideration, like you said, lunch rushes. Like I think Brian even said, like, there's potatoes on the floor and stuff. We look past that, but we can tell. Like when I did the trailer pre-op, there was some food left over from last year. Like on the the trailer wasn't clean from last year. So it's not just like, I mean, we're having issues with both, and just cleanliness in general. I mean, I know you do a lot of frying, so it's a tough place to keep clean, but. Brian showed up, we served 350 people for lunch, and we just got rocked. Of course, there's going to be stuff on the ground and stuff. Was there stuff on the ground this morning, Brian? I don't think there was. I mean, it was spotless because we weren't open then.
No, Kevin. Yeah, and I think what Bree's referring to is, and like I stated in the inspection that I did on the 20th, the 16th, the routine inspection, when I was at the mobile unit, I told you. I know you guys just got hit with a rush. So the food debris on the floor wasn't my concern. When I initially wrote the report, my concern was the visible buildup of a kind of grease and filth, like visible grime around the sink, on the visible edges of the floor, places that you could just tell that have been neglected much more past the day. of a lunch rush. I wasn't, nothing about the fries or the food on the floor. I mean, obviously, if it's a shriveled up fry that's been there for weeks, then that's a problem. But the fresh stuff, that's not an issue. I mean, it's a restaurant. You guys are going to get food on the floor. The initial report, my concern was the grime and the visible buildup in some areas of the trailer, which when I went back today, I inspected that you guys did a good job cleaning it. So.
Yeah, and we've also had issues with like dishes being put away, still soiled with food, and I think Brian had some bowls and stuff that were just covered in food debris and stuff like that. It's almost, I guess my goal here is when we do an inspection, it's not supposed to be like this 4-page long in-depth inspection. Like they should be, fairly, a couple of things here and there, but our inspections every time we do them are kind of like it's too much.
I think the plan that we're laying out is going to help Kevin know where he needs to, what he needs to attain. It's going to have I think it's going to be a plan that allows you to have success, Kevin, because no one likes to have the inspector leave and have 4 pages of.
No, it's kind of ridiculous. It's getting a little frustrating, to be honest.
Right.
But,
so I think the plan that Bree has laid out is going to allow you to feel successful and allow them to feel like the minimum standards of cleanliness and food safety are being maintained. And once we can get to those 2 places, I think everyone's going to feel a lot happier. So it may seem like a lot up front. It may seem like a lot up front, Kevin, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
Dan, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I just like to speak towards it, So every year I'm in the restaurants, over 40 restaurants. I do, the inspections too, and you can tell the people who really take pride and are, keep their places very, very clean. And I wouldn't put you on the list of that, Kevin. You need to show more pride in your place and keeping it clean. You're feeding a lot of people. It's a big responsibility. And, like I said, in a lot of these restaurants, and a lot of them do take good pride, and that's just part of the business. Just keep hearing the excuses. I'm sorry that you have to deal with some of the issues with River Valley there, and I don't know the intricacies of it, but it's just, you have to maintain the cleanliness from the storage of the food all the way through to serving the food. So it's just really important.
So if you want, I can write up a letter and send it to you just so it's in writing with the 3 months. So it will be July, August, September of monthly inspections with no continued critical violations. Pest control's paid a year in advance and submitted to the health department within a week. Cleaning logs and pest control submitted monthly directly to the health department. And that's what I have. So if there's anything else, anybody?
I just want to say, Kevin, also, the next step to this is that your business is closed and there's an overhaul on the cleanliness there. Our job as a board, even separate from Bree and Brian, is to make sure that people, when they come to Easthampton to eat, that they're safe.
Sure.
And so this is kind of the last step before we have to take some more severe action.
Sure. Thanks.
Is there anything else? So Brian wrote up the bathroom not having a self-closing door. It's part of the food code. We have it on our pre-op checklist, and I don't know how we missed it. We've updated the pre-op checklist a couple times, so sometimes we have an older one that doesn't have everything, so Brian just caught it. Kevin requested to have a hearing about having to put a closer on his door. He asked today, so it was before the agenda was posted. So I don't know if you guys want to discuss it or if you want to have like a legitimate hearing. I guess that would be up to Kevin. I talked with Brian today. I'm not sure I really understand the issue because whether the door opens in or out, it should be easy enough to just put like a closer on it.
I'm not sure food safety wise why a self-closing door. What's the rationale behind it?
That's my question too.
I don't know. It's just in the food code.
Let me,
So I
give
can
me
bring
one
it up
second
for
to
you.
pull it up. I have it right here.
Sure.
Self-closing door.
A toilet room located on the premises shall be completely enclosed and provided with a tight-fitting and self-closing door. It's 620214.
We're in a space, it's about 16 by 20. The bathroom's in the middle. It's a tiny door. It's just, I mean, it's just another one of those endless new.
Bree, is it listed as a, it's not critical anymore, priority foundation, where does it fall?
I think it's just a violation. I don't think it's either.
Really? I mean, I'm looking at this report and I see like hand sinks in a pandemic without water. Like those are the things that I think that we should be focusing on. I'm not worried about his bathroom door. I want to see water available in the bathroom so people can clean their hands. Like, I think at this point, let's have Kevin be successful and focus on these other non-foundational priority items at another time.
So why don't we address that when you close for the year and when we reopen in 2022, when you do the floor and when you're redoing the physical facility portion of your place? I don't think it needs to be, like Amy said, I don't think it needs to be done within a week. I mean, it is a violation of the code, but I don't think it's a priority right now. So why don't we
What is the reason for the code?
For the door?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's in the.
I just want to know the reason, though.
You'd have to ask the state. They wrote the code.
My guess is, here's my guess, and I don't have the code up, but my guess is if my hands are dirty and I'm going into the bathroom, I've walked into the bathroom, I turn around, I touch the handle, I close the door. Now when I've done, I've washed my hands in that bathroom, I'm touching the same handle to leave the bathroom. So my guess, thinking through this logically,
you're touching the other side.
No, because I'm walking into a bathroom, I'm turning around because the door isn't closing, and I'm touching the handle on the inside of the bathroom door to pull it closed.
With the dirty hand.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if I have, let's say neurovirus, because that's the most easily transmittable foodborne illness. So I have neurovirus, I've touched that. But then I'm done using the bathroom. I clean my hands 20 seconds, happy birthday, paper towel, dry,
Yeah.
Then I open that door where I just touched it with my neurovirus hands, and now I'm going back out to prepare food. And theoretically, I'm going back out to the line and I'm re-washing my hands, but we all know in busy restaurants, we're lucky we can get them to wash them once. So I think that would be the intent.
Everybody wears gloves now anyway. So, but no, I'm just curious. I was just curious because, like in our situation, it's kind of foolish. But I mean, the rules are rules. It's just really, it's just unfortunately, as like restaurants, it's just every single time there's like a new rule, new whatever, and like sometimes they just seem a little ridiculous. So I'm just trying to find out what's the purpose. We'll do it. I mean, you're required, we'll do it. But it's just, this one is
people much smarter than us that write this code.
Yeah.
there are people who get paid to know.
But they're not in my kitchen too. That's all we're saying.
Right.
So it's just
virus transmission in your kitchen is the same as any other kitchen, which is why the code exists. But the reality is we need to hit these criticals. When you figure out your lease, and we get to a more stable point for you and you're feeling more successful and the people are safe eating there, then we can move on to these little things. No problem.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
And ask questions anytime, Kevin. I mean, that's a good question. Why does it have to be that way? You have to understand it. So
I feel like if you're gonna write me up for a violation of that, like give me the reason why. That's all I ask. Like don't write a violation, be like, well, we don't really know. It's the violation. Just be like, listen, Kev, this is why we're doing this, because of this, this, and this. And then I'll have more respect for that answer. I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. But, just to jot it down, be like, well, that's the code. That's all we do.
Yeah, I mean, we are required to enforce it. And there's another part of the code that says spouts for milk dispensers have to be slanted. And I don't know why, but I look for it when I see milk dispensers. I don't know why. But 99% of the code I understand, but there's of course a couple things here and there. If you want, I have no problem emailing the state and asking them.
Well, I just feel like if you're that's the perfect example. So if somebody says why, I think you should, if you're going to give them a violation for that, they should understand why.
Do you want me to look into that for you?
Yeah. The door, you mean?
Yeah, I can email the state.
Well, I just feel like if you say that to me and I say, okay, why? And then you say, well, it's a violation. for me, I'm like, well, you don't know, you mean, like it says, but if you tell me why, then I have far more respect for that answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's going back to your point about rules changing. I don't think rules necessarily change, but there will be times where I'll be out of training and I'll be like, wow, I've been doing this for 7 years and I didn't know that. So then I like put that in my brain and I bring it up. Every inspection, we're probably citing something new that we didn't last time because we're constantly learning or we're missing things. I mean, there's been times I've completely forgotten to ask to go into a basement, like just completely forgot there's a basement. And my old boss used to say, oh, how'd the basement look? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even go down there. So, I mean, we're missing things all the time. So no inspection.
Well, I'm not saying missing. I'm just saying, like, if you're actually going to write a violation that we have to fix, I would just appreciate, like, if we had a question, that's all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, yep, Bree will follow up and get the final answer for you. Okay, so are we ready to make a motion for Kevin's plan?
Do we need a motion?
Do we need a motion for that?
I think Bree
Yes,
presented a plan.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we're good then.
All right, Kevin, let us
Thank
know
you
if
for
we
your
can do
time.
anything to help you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So next part. Thank you guys. The HACCP variances for Pangaea Sushi and River Valley Co-op. Just so you know, Pangaea Sushi is a contractor that they're like a separate business that operates out of River Valley Co-op.
Yep.
Again, I think I learned this time around. I didn't know that HACCPs technically needed a variance from the Board of Health. I knew that certain things needed HACCP. So again, one of those things that just we learn as we go. So they technically need a variance. Pangaea Sushi is just doing your typical acidifying the rice so they can leave it out at room temperature. I think it's because it rolls better.
Did you send us the HACCP plan? I don't think I've seen it.
I got them today. So no. So I have been asking, that's been like the theme of June, is give things to Bree 4 hours in advance.
When are they trying to open?
July 1.
July 1st, next week.
I mean, the whole point of having this meeting today was to approve these HACCP plans. And we haven't seen the HACCP plans to be able to approve them. I mean, I'm not sure how, I mean, we're looking at 2 HACCP plans today and I haven't seen them. And it's going to be our names that are approving this variance on these HACCP plans.
Yeah, I just got River Valley's today and they submitted it, but it had some missing information in it. So they had to resubmit it. And I expressed my frustration. I told them, I said, listen, I called a Board of Health meeting for you. Like the agenda literally says River Valley Co-op. I said, I'm not going to reschedule this meeting for July 1. So I said, I'll either let the board know that I approved of it. I was able to look at the HACCP. I'm good with it. It's very thorough and long. The rice one was pretty straightforward. It was actually easy to understand. So I told them either 2 things. Either one, I'll give you guys my approval. And if you guys feel comfortable just granting the variance off of that, or I told them they might just not be able to do the reduced oxygen packaging for July 1, which they're fine with. It's just a pain because having a Board of Health meeting behind the scenes is kind of a lot, like it takes time and work to do. So I'm frustrated. The past 2 weeks has been a lot of last minute stuff and it puts me in a tough spot because when they have a huge banner outside of their restaurant saying opening July 1, and then they have like the Chamber of Commerce coming, like the last thing I want to do is like, you know, have this whole newspaper article about how the Board of Health is holding things up. So it's frustrating to me because, you know, we say over and over again, we need 30 days, we need 60 days for all this stuff, and we're getting things last minute. So I did want to ask you guys, Amy, I don't know if you have any like ideas, but I like want to kind of like write a Board of Health policy that's like, that can just cover me a little bit more, because we are just getting things so late and I cannot, like, there's just literally not enough hours in the day to get these things done in time. So I don't know if you have advice. The last thing I want to do is like tell someone they can't open because it's difficult to do that. But as for the HACCPs, I reviewed both. I'm good with both. If you guys feel comfortable just granting the variance based off of my review, or we can postpone this.
I feel very uncomfortable as a board giving a variance without having seen the plan. Maggie, I don't know how you feel. You're not a food safety person, so you may feel a little bit more comfortable.
Well, I'm going to go by your opinion, Amy, because you have the most experience with it. But I mean, there's two things that I think of. River Valley Co-op, they're already existing in Northampton. They have the same food over there that they're going to have here. That would be one consideration. But I mean, I haven't had to do this before, so I guess that's part of, because I'm not even sure what I'm going to be reading.
They're actually really cool. It's very scientific, and it's like very like if this and that. I like reading them. So how about this, Bree? How about we make a motion to approve them pending? I would like to look at it. So pending final review, and I can make sure I get that done by tomorrow. If you can scan them over to me.
I can send it to you right now. I have it.
Great. And then I'll take a chance to look at it. Maggie, I think you're right. I did approve their plans in Northampton because I was there when they opened. Yeah, they are in Northampton.
Yep.
So I think you're right.
I was going to say, I checked in with Meredith and she said that they have been awesome. So, which was good to hear. It's always good to hear. And Meredith runs a tight ship. So she had no issues with them. Said they're really great community partners, stuff like that. The HACCP is very detailed and long. So I think they're both good. But yeah, if you're good, because to be honest with you, I don't know if I can between now and next Thursday hold another Board of Health meeting.
But we'd only need one if I find something that I think is a red flag. Like otherwise, we're gonna go.
Just go for it. I think that's a good plan, Amy.
Okay. And the only other thing that I'd say, Brian, if you're doing the inspections, I don't know if you have done much work with, so it's almost like its own inspection. Bree, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to him, where you ensure that they're actually following the steps of the HACCP plan. There's a word for it that I'm blanking on right now.
Compliance.
No, it's validate. You validate the HACCP plan.
Validate
so
it, yeah.
you go through the process. And so I would recommend setting up a plan with the sushi providers and, say, when are you going to do this? I'm going to come and just watch the process. Like, be really transparent with it. And then you watch them and you review the HACCP plan and you watch to make sure they're hitting those critical control points. Because you could have a professional write a HACCP plan, pay $1,000, but if you're not following it, it's really kind of silly, right? So the validation of the HACCP plan, in my experience, is actually more revealing than getting the document, because you can really help them. You can really say, hey, this isn't what I see this happening here. How can we fix this to be the most safe? And Brie, I'm sure you've validated HACCP plans.
Yeah, so it's like it's interesting because we actually had a violation of a HACCP plan in town. Brian, I think you did the reinspection, possibly.
I remember this.
Yeah, and in Greenfield we had a couple sushi ones, and you watch them make up the rice like slurry, I think they call it, with the water, and they take the pH, and you can tell when they know what they're doing. And I mean, when they start to like do things wrong or they don't have their logs filled out, it's more common than you'd think, unfortunately. But
it's a really good learning and teaching opportunity. Like, I'm not here to catch you doing it wrong. I want to just make sure you're doing it right.
Absolutely.
And coaching them on the process. What I'm really concerned about with the sushi plan, because Bree had asked me earlier, is they say they throw it out after 4 hours. Are they timing it? Are they writing it down? So watching that and coaching them, right? So if you're discarding after 4 hours, you need to write down when you've made it, because they could be making sure it has the right pH. But if their HACCP plan says to discard after 4 hours, they need to be discarding after 4 hours, even if the pH is right, because that's the plan they need to follow. So that's the type of validation that I would like to see done. And I have a little bit more confidence in the River Valley market than I do the sushi vendors, just because I've worked with so many sushi vendors that the corporation makes the HACCP plan, but the people in the restaurant have no idea what it says.
Well, that's why I texted Amy today, because technically by acidifying the rice, you could leave it out for longer than the 4-hour period, but the HACCP said after 4 hours, toss it. So then I was like, it doesn't make sense. And even though Amy and I agree, like a HACCP plan, even if you don't need it, is better than not having one, just because it, you know, but it was confusing to me. Well, why are you throwing it out after 4 hours if you don't have to? So it's something to look at when we're inspecting. And Brian saw me we did like a rough pre-op of River Valley, and we were talking about, I think, reduced oxygen packaging. And I have no problem asking them. I'm like, can you explain to me what it is? We don't really do it often. You know, can you tell me? So I don't really have, like, you know, I told Brian all the time, I'm like, if you don't know something, just ask them to tell you, and then, you know, go back and verify it in the food code. But okay.
So back to the HACCP plan, like, say, so Amy, review it, we're all good with it, this 4-hour thing, and we find that they're not following that, like, can you amend the plan, or do they just have to?
Yeah, so if Ryan goes and, you know, they do have the proper pH and they're like, no, we don't discard after 4 hours, then they would just change their critical control point. support for a group that is often overlooked.
Yeah, and having a nurse, it's one of those things that you don't really realize what they can do until you have one. You know, having Amy for the later half of the pandemic, having her answer emails, you know, just kind of time sensitive emails when people had questions about exposures if I just wasn't available. And like, you know, her email was awesome and like right on point. So it's, you know, Amy, are you eligible for the thing Meredith?
Don't even get me started. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Because
do you know what the status is of the new board member? Like where we are?
So she and I met. I think it's just moving through the motions. I emailed Lindsay in the mayor's office today because I'm not really familiar with the process. And she sent me this flow chart, and it's actually pretty extensive. It's like, first they apply, then they go to the mayor, then they go to city council, then they go to appointments committee, and then they go back to city council. So she's somewhere in the mix. She's hopefully next meeting in July. I think we'll have a meeting in July. So
has she been put forward by the appointments committee?
I know she did, at least with city council. There was a mix up because she was supposed to go to city council, I think, and then something happened where either she couldn't make it or it didn't make it onto the agenda or something. But then I think she went on the same city council meeting as when our budget got approved, which was 2 weeks or so ago. So she should be probably going to the appointments committee, which I can see if she's on any of the agendas.
I never went to the appointment committee agenda. I just spoke with one of the members of the appointment committee, and she had a bunch of questions for me. And then
I did. I went with Peg and what's his name, McCoy.
So it looks like the last agenda was June 8th. Oh, and she was on it. Good. So she was on the agenda June 8th. That might have been the one she couldn't make. Something happened where she couldn't make one. So I know she's in the process. But I'll keep you guys updated.
Should she be at our July meeting?
Hopefully.
Good.
Yeah, I'm hoping. But
now, how are we gonna do meetings if City Hall is opening?
They just sent an email today that for the time being, they still are working out the kinks of hybrid meetings. So for until further notice, we're doing remote, which is nice because I enjoy remote. But
I mean, in the open meeting law class, they did say they're allowing hybrid meetings, but I think Jackie, correct me if I'm remembering incorrectly, but there has to be a quorum in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the chair has to be in person.
Yep.
Unless you appoint, Amy is now going to be sitting in for me as chair because I can't be there.
Right. So once we have a full board, like Amy, if it's hard for you to be there in person, you can Zoom in.